Hold on to your seats because what you're about to hear will stun you. India Hicks, the goddaughter of Prince Charles, bridesmaid to Princess Diana, and a royal insider, has brazenly admitted to stealing an $867 designer coat from Harrods. Yes, you heard it right. Admitted. This isn't conjecture, not hearsay, not a mere misunderstanding. She outright stole it. Yet magically she seems to get a free pass. Now let's contrast this with Meghan Markle. If Meghan so much as sneezes out of tune, she's vilified as manipulative, scheming, dishonest, and narcissistic. You name it, she's been accused of it. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, India Hicks, now with a criminal record, has the audacity to criticise Meghan. A convicted thief trying to paint Meghan as the problem. This is a prime example of royal derangement, so a royal insider with a criminal record is free to criticise Meghan Markle. The audacity is truly staggering. The double standards couldn't be more glaring. We find ourselves in a world where India Hicks, a woman of royal lineage and admitted thief, is treated with kid gloves, yet Meghan Markle, a self-made woman of colour who married into the royal family, is constantly under fire for the most minor of perceived missteps. It's as if every breath she takes is scrutinised under a microscope, dissected and turned into a scandal. Let's take a closer look at this. India Hicks, the goddaughter of Prince Charles, unabashedly confessed to stealing an $867 designer coat from Harrods. No ambiguity, no half-truths. She stole it, plain and simple. Yet, despite this clear violation of the law, she remains untouched by the wrath of the media or the public. She's given a pass, almost as if her royal connection has granted her some sort of immunity. Now let's contrast this with Meghan Markle. Meghan, who has worked her way up from humble beginnings, is constantly berated and vilified. The criticisms range from her being manipulative and calculating to being a liar and a narcissist. And for what? For breathing? For daring to speak her truth? For being unapologetically herself? We've also seen India Hicks, with her criminal record, publicly criticising Meghan, a move that reeks of audacity. It's as if she's trying to divert attention from her own misconduct by painting Meghan as the problem. This is not just a double standard, it's a gross misrepresentation of reality. And let's not forget the interview drama. Meghan shares a story, Brooke Shields chimes in, and suddenly Meghan is accused of rudely interrupting or making the conversation about herself. The timestamps are clear, the clip is there for all to see, but still people twist the truth just to vilify Meghan. Meghan Markle breathes wrong, and she's vilified. Meanwhile, India Hicks is a convicted thief, yet she remains untouchable. The double standards are not just glaring, they're blinding. But the truth, as it always does, will find its way out. And when it does, let's hope it brings with it a fair treatment for all, regardless of their royal connections. Remember the interview drama? Let's revisit that. Picture this, a setting where Meghan Markle, Katie Couric, and Brooke Shields are all present. Katie Couric, a renowned American journalist, asks Meghan to share a story. A simple request, right? Meghan, in her open and engaging manner, begins to tell her tale. But here's where things take a turn. After Meghan finishes her story, Brooke Shields, a Hollywood actress known for her roles in television and film, chimes in. A normal conversation, you would think. But somehow this innocent interaction was twisted into something entirely different. People started claiming that Meghan had rudely interrupted Brooke Shields, making the conversation all about herself. The words manipulative, egotistical, and self-obsessed started being thrown around. But let's pause for a second. The clip exists. The timestamps are clear. Meghan finished her story, then Brooke chimed in. So how was this narrative of Meghan interrupting Brooke or making the conversation about herself created? It seems as though people are so desperate to paint Meghan in a negative light that they're willing to ignore the facts and construct their own version of events. The truth, however, remains unchanged. Meghan told a story when asked, and Brooke chimed in afterwards. There was no interruption, no attempt to make the conversation about herself. Yet the narrative was twisted in such a way to portray Meghan as the villain. And this brings us to a very important question. Was the accusation of Meghan interrupting Brooke or making the conversation about herself a lie? Or was it just another attempt to smear Meghan for clout? It seems like the latter option is more likely, given the constant attempts to tarnish Meghan's image, regardless of the facts. It's a classic case of creating a drama where there is none. And it's time we start questioning these narratives and seek the truth instead of falling for baseless accusations. Because at the end of the day, the truth always finds its way out, no matter how much it is twisted or manipulated. The royal insiders may try to hide, but the truth always finds its way out. Let's take a step back, peel away the layers of royal protocol and decorum, and examine what these incidents truly reveal. We're talking about hypocrisy and double standards. We're talking about a system that, time and again, has shown that it is more than willing to protect its own at all costs. Consider the case of India Hicks, a woman with royal connections who openly admitted to shoplifting an expensive designer coat. Yet where was the outrage? Where were the headlines? The silence was deafening. Instead of condemnation, what we saw was a collective shrug, a wave of the hand as if to say, well, these things happen. Now, contrast this with Meghan Markle, a woman who dared to be different, who spoke her mind, who refused to fit into the mould that was handed to her. Every breath, every step, every word scrutinized and criticized, every misstep magnified, every achievement downplayed. And where was the support for Meghan? Where was the understanding, the empathy? Instead, she was vilified, portrayed as the villain in a narrative that was largely out of her control. And all because she dared to be herself, to stand up for what she believed in. We saw it with the interview drama. Meghan told a story, and yet the narrative was twisted, the truth distorted. It's almost as if there's a concerted effort to paint her in the worst possible light, to tarnish her reputation, to undermine her at every turn. It's a stark reminder of the double standards that exist within these circles. It's a sobering look at the hypocrisy that is so deeply ingrained, it's almost second nature. But here's the thing. The truth always finds its way out. The inconsistencies, the hypocrisy, the double standards, they're all there for everyone to see. And the more they try to smear Meghan, the more they expose themselves. Meghan Markle is successful, confident, and unapologetically herself, and that's what really bothers them. Let's take a moment to digest all of this. We've journeyed through the shocking revelation of India Hicks's admitted theft, an act that would normally incite outrage and scorn, especially within the royal circles. However, the response was far from that. Instead, we saw a display of double standards so stark it's almost blinding. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, seems to be under a microscope for her every move, her every breath, and her every word. In this glaring disparity, we witness the audacity of India Hicks, a woman with a criminal record, criticising Meghan Markle, a woman who has done nothing but live her life, pursue her passions, and stand by her beliefs. The hypocrisy is almost surreal, isn't it? A thief casting stones while living in a glass house. Then we delved into the interview drama, a simple conversation between Meghan Markle, Katie Couric, and Brooke Shields was twisted beyond recognition. Meghan was accused of rudely interrupting, of making the conversation about herself, but the reality, the timestamps, the unaltered clip, all tell a different story. Yet the narrative was manipulated, twisted to fit a preconceived notion about Meghan. All of these instances, these double standards, these blatant attempts to smear Meghan's name, they are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger pattern, a pattern that seeks to tear down Meghan to cover up the messes of others. But here's the thing about the truth. It's stubborn. No matter how much you try to bury it, no matter how much you try to twist it, it always finds its way to the surface. And the truth is, India Hicks is a convicted thief. Meghan Markle, she's just successful, confident, and unapologetically herself. In the end, isn't it clear who the real problem is? It's not Meghan Markle, who has been targeted with baseless accusations and unfair treatment. It's not Meghan, who continues to stand tall despite the relentless onslaught of criticism. No, the real problem is the hypocrisy, the double standards, the unfair treatment. The real issue is the people who would rather tear down a confident, successful woman than confront their own shortcomings. The real issue is the people who would rather believe lies about Meghan Markle than accept the truth about India Hicks. So let's remember this as we move forward. Let's remember the truth, the facts, and the glaring disparities. Let's remember who the real problem is. India Hicks is a convicted thief. Meghan Markle is just successful, confident, and unapologetically herself. It's clear who the real problem is.